said this is one fight they're winning.
With God's will, we are controlling the entrances and exits of AlJazeera. They cannot get out of the town, and they will not be able to do anything anymore. We are controlling it, and we will control more.
If the latest bombardment of AlJazeera is anything like this attack from Thursday, it's easy to understand why locals speak of chaos.
Ordinary people are helpless. We are taking refuge in our buildings. Paramedics are also cannot help. We are trying to save the injured and those who have fallen. We are helpless and we see people lying dead and injured on the ground, and we cannot help them at all.
The Libyan army is notoriously poorly resourced, which may explain why it's taking them so long to retake one town only a short distance from Tripoli. Even if the opposition fighters are badly trained, the one big advantage they do have is force of numbers. The rebels, for instance, say they've taken Ras Lanouf and are on the march towards Gaddafi's hometown of Sirte. There's still plenty of resolve here, apart from anything else they captured and then ransacked the symbolic prize of Gaddafi's beachfront residence in the town, which must have been gratifying for them. But more importantly than that, Ras Lanouf has oil, lots and lots of it.
At the beginning there, you see from here up to 10 kilometers, the port, the oil seaport, that's for exporting oil. You see, Ras Lanouf, that's the biggest in Libya here.
And Brega, further east, also still seems to be out of Gaddafi's control. Two things are becoming clear. First of all is that increasingly the fighting's being concentrated around oil towns, which it's hardly surprising Gaddafi's so keen to reclaim, while his assets are being seized all over Europe. His forces are also keen to destroy arms dumps in the hands of rebels. This one went up in flames in Benghazi, although it's not clear how. More than a dozen were killed, the funerals demonstrating once again how united Benghazi is against the government in Tripoli. The other development is that it's clear the fighting's becoming harder, and all the reports from the frontline towns suggest more people being killed than in previous days. The main reason why the two sides are so deadlocked is because neither is particularly strong. But all the same, it's hardly surprising the words civil war are beginning to appear more frequently to describe what's happening in Libya. Lawrence Lee, Al Jazeera.
Now, earlier we spoke to a doctor in AlJazeera. He says up to 15 people have died and the city is running out of medical supplies.
Today morning, about 8 past quarter o'clock morning, there was a first attack by the Gaddafi militia using tanks and heavy weapons using these bombs. They came from the west of Zawiya, okay? Coming through the street, and there were a lot of buildings and people because they were killing everybody in the way. They killed about 2-3 women, and they killed two young children in front of their mother because they refused to let them go inside their house. They started to bomb everything. They started to kill the people using even the saber shots, using these telescopic shots. They killed about 4 to 15 people today in the city hall of Zawiya, the center of Zawiya. We are occupying this area since many days now, about 14, 15 days now. We are sitting there and refusing to leave this area because we are refusing to stay more and more under the government of this Gaddafi. We have trapped or captured about 5 tanks of them had been occupied by the people there in this area. A lot of them had been killed, and also from our side about 14 to 15 body had been killed.
Now, as we just heard, rebel fighters are moving towards the Libyan town of Sirte. That's Muammar Gaddafi's hometown and an area that will be extremely well defended. Our correspondent, Hada Abdelhamid, who's in the opposition stronghold of Benghazi, has the latest on the opposition advance.
The opposition forces are now quite close to Sirte, the hometown of Gaddafi. At the moment, they are regrouping, trying to find some sort of military structure for them to continue their advance. They do realize that hitting Sirte is going to be much more difficult than whatever they have met so far, just because it's the hometown of Gaddafi, and also because it's where most of his paramilitary elite forces are based under the direct commands of his sons. Sirte is also a much bigger city than AlJazeera, Breda or Ras Lanouf, so they do expect fiercest opposition from the pro-Gaddafi loyalists. However, they are emboldened. They do have a lot of weapons, heavy weapons. We have seen anti-aircraft guns. We have seen also other kind of rocket-propelled grenades and rocket launcher. Each time a town falls, they basically raid the military base and get more weapons. Now they do say that this is the point of no return. They're going to Sirte, and after Sirte they say they're going to head to Tripoli, and inside Tripoli they want to head directly to AlJazeera, which is a location where we believe Muammar Gaddafi and his family are at the moment.
Meanwhile, Libyan state television is reporting that life in Libya is returning to normal and that oil prices are being lowered. It's run a series of interviews from Tripoli showing people going about their daily life. Many of those interviewed lashed out at the foreign media, saying they're distorting the situation in Libya.
Life is fine. Things are getting back to normal. Prices are okay. Peppers, for example, have fallen in price. They used to be 3 Libyan pounds. They are now only 1 pound. People are not scared anymore, and shops are opening up again.
Nuruddin Jebnoon is a professor at the Center for Contemporary Arab Studies and School of Foreign Service at Georgetown University. He joins me from Washington, D.C. Thanks again for joining us. Why do you think it's so important for the Gaddafi regime to show that life is normal in Libya?
I think this is the propaganda from the regime just to sell like its image, like is the regime that will be able to stabilize the country. But let me go to Sirte. I think I predict personally like the most ferocious and major battle will take place in Sirte. Why? Because Sirte is the fief of the Gaddafi, it's the fief of the regime, and the fall, the predictable fall of the major city of Sirte will have a kind of psychological impact on the regime before the next stop will be in Tripoli or will be in AlJazeera military base. Means it will be major test for the pro-Gaddafi forces and the major test too for the anti-Gaddafi forces.
So if Sirte is going to be one of the important cities that is going to be defended by... Yeah, go ahead.
I will say will be like the Stalingrad of the anti-Gaddafi forces and of the pro-Gaddafi forces. So just will take time, but I think the fall of the city will be the major change on the way of the events, political and security events now in Libya.
Oh, given the fact that it's going to be a very symbolic city and also the psychological effect it could have on the regime in Tripoli, we could then expect a very prolonged and I would imagine a very bloody battle there, because it is a very well-defended city right now.
Yeah, as you know, the 32nd Brigade of his son Khamis now is deployed and